morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard.
And I'm Talon Williams, and this is week 17 of Are You Ready for Some Football right here on Movement Radio. It's been pretty crazy. Shut up, phone. It's been a lot going on. That being said, Chip, how'd you overall feel about week 16 in the NFL?
Week 16 was another one of those crazy weeks. You got teams that shouldn't be losing that are losing. We'll get into it, but you just go back to that Monday night game between the Raiders and the Chiefs, and the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and you're like, huh?
Yeah, like, right.
How does that happen?
And they beat them on defense too.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. They beat them on the defensive side more than anything. A fumble recovery that you really took for a touchdown. And then Jack Jones went in again with another interception, pick six for a touchdown. If you would have told me that the Chiefs would have been 9-6 at this point in the season, I'd have said, okay, you're either a really, really, really big hater of the Chiefs or you're just insane.
Right.
Either way, I think, people are onto something,
They are 9-6, 2 games left in the season, and there's a possibility that they're going to be a wild card team, not the winners of their division.
Yeah, the playoff scenarios that have been just coming out, and we'll get to playoff scenarios here in just a second. Let's kick it off with your team that took place, the game that took place this past week. The Houston Texans against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland winning the game 36-22. Case Keenum had the start for this game, and Cleveland was just on another level, man. They scored 22 points in the first half to your 7. And Joe Flacco, I don't know what happened. This man's found the fountain of youth or something, man, because he threw for 368 and 3 touchdowns. Did have them 2 picks though, so it didn't ultimately cost them, but it did, show some inconsistencies. However, Amari Cooper, dude, 11 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 265 yards. And the Texans weren't too, shabby either. I mean, you had Davis Mills and Case Keenum both playing starters. Davis Mills actually had the 2 touchdowns of the day. Dalton Schultz had a good game, 8 for 61. How do you feel about this game overall?
This is just a classic case of too many starters being injured, and the Browns defense feasting on that. They're feasting on second and third string guys. Case Keenum, he played okay last week versus the Titans, but this week not so much, which is why he got benched at the start of the second half. Davis Mills comes out. Mills Mafia was running wild there for a little while.
Yep.
2 touchdowns. But, we were without C.J. Stroud again. We were without Nico Collins. Or, I'm sorry, Nico did play this game. But, we were without Tank Dell. On defense, we were without Will Anderson. We lost Jimmy Ward part of the way through. We lost Jonathan Grenard part of the way through. So, the Texans are banged up and they're fighting for a wild card position right now, which had you told me, at the start of this season that the Texans were going to be sitting where they are at 6-7 right now. 8-7 right now. I would have been like, yeah, that's too much.
Right.
That's too much fanboy. In there, but yeah, they're sitting at 8-7 right now. Still have a chance to win the division, the AFC South division, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, chances are that team, depending on how Kansas City does, it may be a third seed. Possibly second, depending also on how Miami does. Again, these playoff scenarios, man. Like, what are we going to do in these playoff scenarios?
Yeah.
But speaking of Miami, let's move on to the game. The Miami, and I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Miami had to prove that they could beat a good team. They had to prove that they could beat a good team. And I said it in the chat earlier, by the skin of their ass, they did. The Miami Dolphins defeat the Dallas Cowboys 22-20. Last second field goal to tie the game. It wasn't a whole lot of offense in terms of like big time plays and things of that nature. Tua was 293 and a touchdown. And the only touchdown that he had was to Raheem Mostert. It was his only catch of the game, but it was a 4-yard run into the end zone. Tyreek 9 for 99. Durham Smythe had a good game too. The Cowboys did. CeeDee Lamb pretty much chewed us up, dude. 6 receptions, 118 yards and a touchdown. Shout out to Brandon Cooks, who had a touchdown in the game as well. But we did keep the running game to, a minimum. Tony Pollard only had 38. Dak had 25. So we tried our best to keep the run game, as minimal as we could. And this was a knockdown, drag-out fight. And it was down to the wire. And Jason Sanders kicks that field goal and wins the game for us. I was on the edge of my seat pretty much the whole game. We actually got to, we were over at my mother-in-law and my father-in-law's house watching the game. The kids went over there for Christmas Eve, open presents and stuff. And that was the game that we ended up watching. And it was fun to watch from the terms of like, yay, Miami won. And my wife's side of the family, they're Alabama fans, and they remember watching Tua play at Alabama, so they were rooting for the Dolphins alongside with me. So that was a good thing. How did you ultimately feel about Miami versus Dallas?
I mean, I thought that was going to be a really good game, and it turned out to be a really good game. Apparently, there was some controversy on the the last
roughing the passer.
Yeah,
it was the last play of the second. It was the second to last play of the second half when Tua threw the ball. Okay, they normally say, "Oh, you give them like if he throws the ball and then the players and the tackler's right there, they don't normally call it roughing the passer. But
right.
If he throws the ball and takes 2 steps and then hits the quarterback, it's considered roughing the passer. And in that instance, it was a bang play. When you go back and you watch the replay, you can see Micah Parsons take that step, but you can also tell him that he's kind of trying to slow down. But by that second step, he already hit. I mean, Micah Parsons is running so fast anyway. As soon as he hits him, he's going to be on the ground regardless, because he's just a big motherfucker hitting a, person. So yeah, that it was controversial. I will say that, but I also think that it highlights something that the NFL needs to do, and that is look more closely, because I've been against, and it was against my own team. And I even said, to my father-in-law, I said, that wasn't roughing the passer, and it's my team and I'm a Dolphins fan, but even me, I was like, he shouldn't have been called for that. What's your thought about that?
I don't think it was roughing the passer. I get why the NFL is doing this, trying to protect the quarterbacks more than they have in previous years. But it's just bang plays are going to happen, and that's what football is. It's
right.
Bang plays. So yeah, I don't think that was roughing the passer at all.
Me neither. Ultimately, though, Miami did kick the field goal to win the game. Miami does solidify itself as a playoff team with this win. They have secured a playoff berth. Now, where they're seated, though, that's going to be a different story for a different time because of, where we're going to see in terms of the pecking order and stuff, as far as seating and stuff, especially with these upcoming games. We have the Monday night. Let's jump ahead straight to the Monday, or do you want? Or we could do the Sunday nighter. We had. I'm trying to look and see.
With the Sunday nighter, that was Patriots Broncos.
Yeah.
That game wasn't that good. I don't understand why it was a Sunday nighter.
Me neither.
Patriots ended up winning. Broncos looked like shit.
Yeah.
Hence why Russ has been benched and Jared Stidham is going to be the starter for the Broncos for the next couple of games.
Pretty much for the rest of the season, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's even if Russ is even going to stay in Denver, depending on what happens. But yeah, Patriots win 26-23 in a game that shouldn't have been this close, in my opinion. Unless
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is like, hey, it's only one bad season. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, why am I getting, raked over the coals over one bad season? And I can understand what he's saying by that. I mean, it's but when you have a guy like Tom Brady for all those years, and then the moment he leaves, you're not having success anymore, that kind of throws up a red flag. Like, okay, should we have stayed with Tom? Should Robert Kraft have said, let me stick with Tom and let Belichick go? But then again, if Belichick goes, who would you get to coach up Tom? It's that whole scenario thing. Although I do think that, in my opinion, Belichick in this situation, like, he already knows he's on the outs. He already knows that he's leaving. So maybe this is like his last hoorah, I guess, to try to, make people see, I can still coach, I guess,
Yeah, I don't. Here's the weird thing. I don't like the Patriots. I also don't think that they should oust Belichick at the at this point. I think you give him one more season, which is what his contract says.
Right.
He signed an extension at the beginning of the year for another year. So I think you let that contract ride. You start looking. Obviously, you go ahead now and start looking for who's going to be the successor to Belichick. But you let him ride the next season, see what he can do. Like, get some draft in, figure out, where. Obviously, I think they need a quarterback. I don't think Mac Jones is that guy.
Me neither. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Drake May out of North Carolina, them taking him number 2 overall.
Exactly. So try to shore up some holes in your team and see what Belichick can do next year. They haven't had a great team for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Was it last offseason they went out and spent a lot of money, and they did okay with Cam Newton under center. Not great by any means, but they did okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I just don't think it's time to pull the plug on Belichick yet.
Yeah,
one more season.
Yeah, I agree with that. One more season just to see what happens, and then after his contract is completely done, then you could say, okay, let's move forward. Although I did hear a rumor going around, I don't know how true it is, so don't hold me to it, that Josh McDaniel could possibly come in as the next head coach of the New England Patriots, because we all know what a good job he did with Denver and Vegas. But he's a Robert Kraft guy, so that could possibly be something for him. But and plus he was a Patriots offensive coordinator for years, so
well, that's what got him the head coaching job, was being the offensive coordinator under Belichick.
Yeah, which I think, which I mean, if you think about it, a lot of guys, because of Bill Belichick, had opportunities to become head coaches. You look at Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien was offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick, and he ended up getting a job with the Houston Texans. And then you look at Josh McDaniel, obviously going to the Broncos and then going to the Raiders. Charlie Weiss and Romeo Cornell, because of the things that they did. Charlie Weiss went to the Chiefs, I think. Was it the Chiefs that he went to?
I believe that's right.
Yeah, Romeo Cornell went to the Chiefs. Charlie Weiss went to go coach at Notre Dame. I think that's what it was.
Romeo Cornell went to the Chiefs, and then he was defensive coordinator for Houston for a little while, interim head coach before Culley. Was it before Culley or?
I think it was
after.
Before Culley. I think it was before Culley, because when Lovie Smith took over, he wasn't the offense coordinator anymore. Correct? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I can't remember if Cornell filled in post Belichick, pre David Culley, or was it post Culley, pre? No, it was pre Culley.
Yeah,
it was post Bill O'Brien, pre David Culley.
Gotcha.
Now, I personally, I think that Bill O'Brien could be the next head coach in New England. He's there now.
Yeah, I could see that
So
happening. As long as you don't make him the general manager. Make him just the coach. Let him
right,
just worry about the X's and O's. Hire a general manager that can act, because that's one thing about Bill Belichick. Because that's the one thing I like in Miami right now is that Greer is going to make the decisions, and all Mike McDaniel has to do is coach. That's it. When you look
right.
at a lot of, like, you know, with Mike Tannenbaum when he was the GM of the Jets. Mike Tannenbaum said, "I'll handle all player personnel." I can't remember who the coach was at the time. I want to say it was Who was it? He's on ESPN. Eric Mangini. When Eric Mangini was the head coach of the Jets, he said, "I'll handle all player personnel. You just worry about the coaching." And that's what I think needs to happen. Robert Kraft needs to hire a general manager who knows what he's doing, who knows how to pick players, who knows how to put people in the right situations, be good player personnel, and just let the coach worry about the X's and O's and just coach. That's what he needs to do.
Here's what could work. You keep Belichick on as GM. You upgrade O'Brien to head coach. Yeah, and then you Bill O'Brien just worries about the X's and O's, because when he coaches, he's not bad. He's good.
Right.
I mean, look what he did for the Texans there for all those years when he was just the coach.
Yeah.
Now,
and
when
then
he took over,
yeah.
well, when he took over GM and coaching duties and combined the two, that's when shit started faltering.
Yeah. You traded away DeAndre Hopkins to Arizona for David Johnson and a couple of picks, and David Johnson didn't pan out. You traded away Dwayne Brown. Yeah, Dwayne Brown. Yeah. You traded away Dwayne Brown, realized you needed a left tackle. Then you traded with Miami to get Laramie Tunsil. And those 3 picks, you could have kept Dwayne Brown, and it would have been the same thing, and you could have kept your draft picks.
Could have kept Dwayne Brown, but look at the trajectory now. Like,
in hindsight, yeah.
If you look in hindsight, Tunsil has been phenomenal at left tackle. Dwayne Brown, is he even playing?
He doesn't play. No, he doesn't play in the league, I don't think, anymore.
I think he's like a backup somewhere.
Maybe, but I mean, in hindsight, yes. In hindsight, Laramie Tunsil has emerged as, top 5 left tackle in the league. But nevertheless, overall, big win by the Patriots. Hopefully, we'll see what happens there. Broncos sit at 7-8 and could possibly, I don't know, see what happens. But let's go to the Monday nighters. Obviously, the Eagles pull off the victory.
Dwayne Brown plays for the Jets.
Oh, well, there you go. That's probably why I don't know who he is, or why I remember him. So, is that a train?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't see anything. All right. So the Eagles and the Giants. Eagles pull away with a victory, 33-25, in a game that was. It looked like the Giants could have came back a couple of times in this game. They had that big interception, big run back return. Slayton had a good catch there toward the end of the game. The Eagles finally get back in their winning ways after losing 3 straight. And then the Giants, unfortunately, due to this loss, have now been mathematically eliminated from postseason contention, which I think they were already kind of mathematically eliminated because you only got 5 wins and we're already in week 16 at this point. So what the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway, what'd you think of Eagles Giants?
I mean, I guess it took playing a terrible team for the Eagles to get back to their winning ways, because they were looking like they were just crashing for several weeks.
Yeah. Well, would you consider Seattle a terrible team? I mean, they're mid. I mean, I would consider them mid. I wouldn't consider them terrible.
Seattle.
Yeah, because that's.
I guess they're the upper echelon of terrible teams. they're right on that cusp of being a decent team.
So if we split so there's 32 teams. So if we split it down the middle, the 16 best and the 16 worst, they're in like the best of the worst category, pretty much.
Yeah, I would put them at 15
or 16.
15 or 16. Yeah. Personally. I mean,
Right.
look, the Texans, I think, are down in that lower echelon.
Okay. All right. Um, yeah, Eagles come away with the victory, man. They had a good deal. Let's talk about the Christmas night game between the Ravens and the 49ers. I was expecting this game to be like hardcore, nose to the grindstone. Like, I mean, and it was that game before when the first half was over. The 49ers went down by 4 at the end of the first half. And then Baltimore came out in that third quarter, scored 17 unanswered. And then San Francisco tried to come through in the fourth. But damn, man, Brock Purdy throwing 4 interceptions in this game. And George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk both had probably the best games that they've had in their whole careers. George Kittle had 7 receptions, 126 yards. Ayuk, 6 for 113. Christian McCaffrey ran his ass off, 103 yards on 14 carries and a touchdown. The only passing touchdown that they had was when Brock got benched because he either got hurt or he got benched. I can't remember what it was. But Sam Darnold came in, threw a touchdown to Ronnie Bell, then threw another interception. And, of course, the Ravens just ran all over them. Gus Edwards with a touchdown. Lamar Jackson ran 45 yards, also threw for 252 and 2 touchdowns on the day. Zay Flowers has just emerged, and then, No Hands Aguilar had a touchdown. Can you believe it? I can't.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not expect the Ravens to dominate the 49ers the way that they did.
No.
It was the 4 interceptions from Brock Purdy. That is kind of what sealed this game.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, every interception turned into points.
Yeah, every interception, like not pick sixes, but every single time they intercepted the ball, it did turn into some type of point.
Right.
Whether it be a field goal, whether it be a touchdown. But this is the one fascinating thing I found out about this game. Okay. So San Francisco had more total yards, more passing yards, more rushing yards, more average yards per play, but they also allowed 5. They had 5 interceptions. They allowed 4 sacks. They did beat the Ravens on third down efficiency, but they also had 10 penalties. Like, they did everything they were supposed to do, but they also did everything they weren't supposed to do in terms of penalties and having low efficiency and things of that nature. So,
yeah, it's just crazy. It literally was the Ravens defense that won this game.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And this is a high-powered offense, and a high-powered offense that consists of Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and a defense that surprisingly allowed these points. And I get it. Like, if you're on the field, if you keep the defense on the field, the defense is going to wear out a little bit more. But, I mean, God, you got Fred Warner, you got Nick Bosa, you got Randy Gregory, Javon Hargrave. You have all these good play. Even Chase Young. He had a half a sack in this game, but that was his only production throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And when you can keep that guy at bay, I mean, come on. I mean, but also credit to the offensive linemen for Baltimore too. They've really been stepping their game up a lot lately. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to move from this particular week. Before we get started, we're going to go ahead and go over the power rankings for Week 17, going into Week 17. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the top 10 for you guys today. Very interesting that this top 10 looks like this. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, but here's what it is. Okay, so this first one's going to surprise you. At number 10, jumping up 5 spots, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's something else that's going to surprise you. At number 9, dropping down 3 spots, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Does not
This
surprise me.
this is the lowest rank that they've had since 2019. At number 8, bumping up a spot, are the Cleveland Browns. At number 7, bumping up a spot, are the Buffalo Bills. At number 6, dropping down 3 spots, are the Dallas Cowboys. At number 5, bumping up 2 spots, are the Detroit Lions. At number 4, bumping up 1 spot, are the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 3, bumping up 1 spot, is the Miami Dolphins. At number 2, going down a spot, obviously the San Francisco 49ers. And the new number 1 team, bumping up 1 spot to number 1, are the Baltimore Ravens. I think they got it right, particularly in this case. Dallas going down after that big loss to Miami. Buffalo, obviously, they're ascending because they're going on this hot streak. Cleveland is beginning to rise. They're a 10-win team, so they're reaching that upper echelon. Kansas City at 9-6. If this was any other team other than Kansas City, I don't even see them in the top 10.
But I agree.
Tampa Bay actually surprises me being at number 10, only because LA Rams also moved up 5 spots to the number 11 spot. And both of these teams are 8-7. And both of these teams have a good chance to make it into the playoffs. Well, yeah, both teams can make it into the playoffs because all Tampa Bay has to do is win their next 2 games, and they've won the NFC South, which is not that big a deal because the NFC South, again, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think it's the weakest division in football. Because there's not a whole lot of all the teams are mid to me.
Right.
But overall, how do you feel ultimately about just the current power rankings?
I mean, I think they got it right. The biggest shocker for me was the Bucks moving into that top 10 spot.
Yeah, me too. I figured I figured either the Texans or the Jags would have probably still have been there, but because of their losses, I can understand why they moved down. And if you move somebody down, you got to move somebody up. And the Rams and the Bucks, both teams jumped up 5 spots from where they were. They were at 15 and 16 last week, and now they're 10 and 11. So kudos.
Now, where are the Texans right now? 15.
The Texans are 12. Right
12.
now, they bumped down 1 spot. You guys are 1 above the Jaguars, 2 above the Bengals, 3 above the Colts. And then rounding out the top 16 are the Seahawks, who bumped up 1 spot to 16.
Okay,
but there's a lot of teams that are creeping up, and the biggest drop this week was the Denver Broncos dropping from 16 to 22. They took an 8-point dip in the power rankings this week. And
they did lose to the Patriots.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's true. They did lose to the Patriots, so I guess that is a pretty big jump. But moving from there, moving over to the playoff picture, because we are fixing to be in week 17, and these teams are fighting. There are 5 spots available left in the AFC, and only 3 spots available left in the NFC. But we'll talk about the AFC first. In the AFC, the number 1 and number 2, the 2 teams that have been already selected into the AFC playoff spots, already got their spots, are the Baltimore Ravens and the Miami Dolphins. Depending on the seeding will depend on what happens in the course of the next 2 weeks. The Chiefs are at 3, the Jaguars are at 4, and the 3 wildcard teams are the Cleveland Browns, the Buffalo Bills, and the Indianapolis Colts, followed by the Texans, the Bengals, and the Steelers, which round out the top 10. And, of course, the eliminated teams are the Patriots, the Chargers, the Titans, and the Jets. Moving over to the NFC side, there are 4 teams that have already earned their playoff spot, which is the 49ers, the Eagles, the Detroit Lions, and the Dallas Cowboys. The number 4 seed has yet to be determined because the NFC South has yet to be determined.
Right.
But that's the Bucs at 4, and then the remaining 2 wild card spots are the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks, but the Vikings, the Packers, and the Saints are right there with them, rounding out the top 10. And, of course, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Commanders, and as of this week, the New York Giants have now been officially eliminated from postseason contention. In terms of wild card scenarios and tiebreaker procedures and things of that nature, and we'll get into that whenever we go over the picks. As a matter of fact, I think it might be beneficial since we have the playoff records or since we have the playoffs almost ready to go, let's go ahead and let's jump straight into week 17 and let's go ahead and make these picks and let's see where we line everything up.
All right, we'll start off with the Thursday nighter. We got the Jets versus the Browns. This is going to be a barn burner. Hey.
For the Browns, it will be, I think.
Yeah, I think the Browns are going to feast on the Jets. Now, the Browns are a 7.5-point favorite, with the over/under being at 34.5.
That's it.
That's
34. That's it. Wow. I figured they give them a little bit more respect than that. I do think the Browns are going to win this one. I do think if the Browns win this one, that makes them 11-5, and I definitely think it puts them. I definitely think they've earned a playoff berth at that point. You would think that they would earn a playoff berth at that point. Like I guarantee
so.
No, because I don't see any other. Because if I'm going to go back and look, because the Browns are 10-5. I don't know if they lose and the Bills win, there could be some situations. I would think that if the Browns win this game, they're definitely a playoff contender. They can mathematically into the playoffs. Of course, the Jets are already out, so they don't give a shit.
Right, I would think so.
They could play with probably reckless abandon at that point, you know? But yeah, Cleveland wins this one to me.
All right, that's Cleveland across the board.
All righty.
Next up, we got the Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys are a 6-point favorite, only a 6-point favorite,
and
the over/under is 53.5.
God, they think it's going to be that many? Wow, that's like 20, roughly 20 points for each team, roughly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's 25. That's a minimum 25, of 25.
Yeah, 25. Yeah. I know I said 20. Yeah, 25 points for each team. Wow.
25 and a field goal. So, but I do think that the Cowboys bounce back from the Dolphins' loss, and they win this one. Kind of, that'll put them, at 11-5, and it'll bump Detroit to 11-5 here. But yeah, I think the Cowboys bounce back and win this one.
I'm going Detroit. Detroit's got all the momentum right now, man, and they are steamrolling. And I think that they're going to be? Do I think they're going to walk all over Dallas? No, but I do think it's going to be a good game to watch. It's going to be a fun game to watch. And it's ESPN, ESPN Plus, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes for people that speak differently. But yeah, definitely Detroit. I think Detroit's going to win this one. It's going to be close, but I got Detroit.
All right. Chad also has the Cowboys to win this one, so
okay,
you're odd man out there.
I'm fine with
it. Next up, we got the Titans versus the Texans. This is going to be in Houston at NRG Stadium, where Houston is a 4.5-point favorite, with the over/under at 42.5.
Is CJ Stroud going to be back for this game?
CJ Stroud is still listed as questionable as of today.
So chances are it'll probably be a game time decision.
Chances are game time decision, yes. I think he'll be back. All indication is that he'll be back for this game. Now, if he misses this game and is still in concussion protocol for the third week straight, I think it's time to really send him off and do some serious tests.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems more and more that the kind of window for concussions is really starting to be a 2-week window.
Yeah.
So there's that. Now we did, like I stated previously, we did lose Jimmy Ward. He was placed on IR. However, we brought back former Houston Texan Kareem Jackson on waivers.
There you go.
So he'll be, a starting safety in this game. So we'll see if he can get back to his winning ways, getting out of Denver in a place he didn't really want to be to begin with. We'll see how that goes. But I got the Texans winning this one. I think they win even without CJ Stroud. They've already proved that they can do that. So we'll see. But I got the Texans winning.
I also have the Texans winning this one as well. The Titans right now, I mean, the Titans are a sneaky team. They could probably pull off a victory here and there, but kind of like last year with the Jaguars in Tennessee, like I don't really have a lot of faith in them to make the right play at the right time, especially with the inconsistency at the quarterback position. Will Levis has, he's been good for the Titans, but now he's injured. Now you got to go back to the well with Tannehill. That rhymed, and I didn't even know it would be. But hey, I'm a poet and didn't know it. I did kind of know it, but that's a different story. But yeah, I got the Texans winning this one overall.
All right, that's Texans across the board there.
Yep.
Next up, we're going to talk about a game that should be the Sunday nighter. Was previously announced that it would be flexed into that primetime position, and somehow did not make it. We're going to talk about the Dolphins versus the Ravens, where Baltimore is a 3-point favorite, with the over-under being only 47.5.
Yeah. I think the only reason why they are a 3-point favorite is because it's a home game for them. I feel like, but I also feel like that if the game was also played in Miami, they would still be somewhat favored by a point or even a pick-me game.
Yeah. Now, I
go ahead. Go ahead.
This really does pain me to say, but I think that the Ravens, I seriously think after what the Ravens did to the 49ers, who are statistically the best team in the NFL, they're the consensus number one on offense and defense, really.
Right.
I think the Dolphins have more firepower on offense than the 49ers do, personally. Yeah. But I think the Dolphins' defense is a little suspect at times.
I agree.
So picking with my head and not my heart, even though you very well know I'm not a Dolphins fan.
I know.
I think the Raiders eke this one out, but I think it's going to be another nail biter, kind of like what the Dolphins-Cowboys game was.
Yeah.
But I think the Ravens eke this one out with like a field goal.
I'm going to be completely honest. When I watched that game against the 49ers, the Ravens and the 49ers this past week, I immediately went to social media and I said, I'm a diehard Dolphins fan, but I have to be honest, the Ravens scare the shit out of me. They scare the shit out of me. And here's the thing. If we were just playing if this was week 1, 2, maybe even week 10, I wouldn't be so nervous.
Right.
But this is week 17. We're coming down to the wire. Both of us are already the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the AFC. If we beat them, then
you guys get the number 1 seed.
We get the number 1 seed. We don't have to worry about whether we win or lose against Buffalo next week because we already have that one up on them. You know what I mean? So even if we did lose to the Bills, we're still the number 1 seed because we beat the number 1 seed already, and we have a better overall record. But right. That's where my head and my heart are colliding right now. I don't want to go against my Dolphins because last year I remember the Dolphins getting beat down for the first 2.5 quarters against the Ravens, and it was 35-14 in the middle of the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, bam, everything came back. We ended up coming back from behind and beating them 42-38. So, or 34, whatever number it was. I can't remember the score off the top of my head, but I know we came back and won 42 to something. If we can contain Lamar Jackson, which is very, very difficult to do, but if we can contain Lamar Jackson, I think we have a chance to win. Their defense is very, very good too. It's a high-powered offense like the Miami Dolphins and a smothering defense like what they have. Dude, because you got Marlon Humphreys, Kyle Hamilton, Patrick Queen, Marcus Williams. I mean, these guys are good. That secondary is no joke. So if we're going to win this game, we got to win it running the football. We have to. Jeff Wilson has to step up. Devon Achane has to step up. Raheem has to step up. It needs to be a full effort. And we need, and this is something else that I think it's how people beat Kansas City a lot of the times in these games. You have to keep the quarterback off of the field. You keep Lamar Jackson off of the field. Control time of possession. If you control time of possession, you keep that man off the field, he has less opportunities to come through and make plays. You have to grind it out. I will settle for a 10-7 win as long as it's still a win. I'm not expecting a blowout unless the Ravens blow us out, which in more likelihood may happen. But at the same time, Miami has had those moments where they start off kind of weak and then build to something better. I've seen that happen several times against teams like the Carolina Panthers and even teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though we didn't win that game, we still may try to make a comeback there toward the end. All that being said, I have to go with my heart in this. I got the Dolphins winning. It's going to be close. It's going to be a fight, and I will be okay if I get this wrong. But I got to go with them. I'm sorry. I have to. Because I hope and prayer that they figure out a way to beat this team, Because if we don't beat this team, we have to play Buffalo for the AFC East Championship or the AFC East title. The good thing is it's in Miami. That's the only good thing is that it's a home game, and Buffalo really doesn't do too well in Miami. Whenever we travel to Buffalo, they rip us apart. And if they come to Miami because of the heat, which I say because of the heat, it's warmer in Miami than it is in Buffalo, New York, obviously. But in December, it still leans in favor toward Buffalo, but they still have I think it was like a 61% winning percentage in Miami as opposed to, a 46% because it's 61% in Buffalo. So yeah, I'm going with Miami to win this one. It might be a bad pick, but it's a good pick.
Here's the thing. It will not surprise me if the Dolphins win. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that the Ravens eke it out just slightly. And Chad is also going to go Ravens here. So
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine being the odd man on the odd man out on that one. Trust me, I've done my analysis. I know.
Right. Next up, we got the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills, where Buffalo is a 12-point favorite with the over-under being 40.5. Now, I'm going with the Bills here. I just don't think, even with as not good, but slightly good that the Patriots have been playing over the last couple of weeks, that I just, they beat Pittsburgh, they gave Kansas City a run, and then they beat Denver. They're playing slightly well.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they have what it takes to beat the Bills right now. So I'm going Bills.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to go Bills to win this game, but I hope I'm wrong. but also you got to remember when the Bills and the Patriots played earlier this year, the Patriots did beat them 15-10. So we got to keep that in mind. They did beat them 15-10. But that was when the Bills were still having their struggles to figure out what they want to do and how they want to run their offense. Why they couldn't figure this out in the first week of the season, I don't know. But you look at the totality. I really, truly think that it's going to be a closer game than we're expecting it to be. I don't think it's going to be a 12-point blowout like what the odds makers are saying. I do think that it's going to be – I'm hoping that the Patriots, for some reason – and you know me, I hate the Patriots. Not as much as the Jets, but I hate the Patriots. And anytime these rivalries – these interdivisional rivalries have each other, I think in my head, can you both lose like tie so I don't have to worry about dealing with this bullshit? But someone's going to win this game, and it's going to be Buffalo winning it. Although I'm kind of hoping for Patriots to be like, you know what? We're just going to play spoiler and ruin your whole entire playoff, hopes and expectations. But right. I'm still going Buffalo to win it.
All right. So that's the Bills across the board. Next game up on the docket is the Atlanta Falcons versus the Chicago Bears. And the Bears are a 3-point favorite with the over-under being only 37.5. This was kind of a pick 'em for me
Yeah, me too.
I picked the Bears because I think they're starting to click on all cylinders. And I think Justin Fields does not want to lose his job, so he's playing a whole lot better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
Caleb Williams is knocking at your door, dude.
He is.
If he even wants to come to Chicago.
Mm.
That's a different can of worms right there. We can open at a later date.
Yeah. So I'm going with the Bears on this one.
You know what? I was going to go with the Bears on this one. The Falcons just, I don't know, man. Both of these teams really are in a position where every game is a survival game at this point. You have to win to have a chance to get in. The problem is that not only do they have to win, but other teams have to lose to vault them up. The
Correct.
problem is these other teams aren't losing. So this is going to be the week, I think, in week 17, where there's going to be a ton of teams that are drastically falling out of playoff contention. And I definitely think that the Bears and the Falcons are right there. I think the Bears also do win this game and put the Falcons out of their misery because, let's be honest, the Falcons have not been playing well over the past several weeks. You lost to the Carolina Panthers, and how Arthur Smith is able to show face after that loss is it's flabbergasting to me.
I'm confused as to how Arthur Smith still has a job at this point.
To be honest with you, I don't know, man. You have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts, and all you're doing is using them as distractions from Michael Pruitt. Like, dude, utilize the best weapons that you have. You've been doing that good. I'll say this though. When Arthur Smith put Taylor Heineke in the game, I was way more excited to watch a Falcons game because Desmond Ridder does not do it for me.
Nope.
I've seen what Taylor Heineke can do in Washington. The kid can play. He just happens to go to a team or he gets signed to a team or gets traded to a team where the backup quarterback is more essential than your starter is, because, like, I would take Taylor Heineke right now over at least 2 or 3 of the starting quarterbacks in the game right now. Honestly, I'd take Taylor Heineke over Mac Jones. I'd take him over. No, I wouldn't take him over. I don't know. I might take him over Josh Dobbs. I think I would. No, Josh Dobbs is iffy. I'm iffy on Josh Dobbs, but yeah, I mean, there's plenty of places that he could go, that he could be a starter if they give him the opportunity. Honestly, my opinion, he can stay in Atlanta and take the job from Ridder. That would be his best case scenario, my opinion. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing. Yeah. Kind of like Matt Schaub. Kind of like Matt Schaub was. You know how Matt Schaub was good in Atlanta those times that Vic was out, and then they signed Matt Ryan. Then Matt Schaub got traded to the Texans, and in my opinion, aside from the Deshaun Watson, I still think Matt Schaub is the best Texans quarterback that ever lived. That's just my opinion.
I think statistically,
statistically.
Well, because there have been statistics that he set that are close to being broke by Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
But I think longevity wise, yes, he was the greatest Texan quarterback that there has been so far.
Right. I mean, you only have like a 21-year history though.
Yeah.
2002. Yeah, because 2002 was when they did the expansion.
Yeah, 21
years. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be 2024 in a couple of days anyway. So, yeah. But anyway, but yeah, overall, who do you have for this game? You said
I said Bears. Bears across the board.
Bears across the board. Yes.
Yeah. So next up, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts, where the Colts are a 3.5 point favorite, with the over under being 43.5.
I'll be honest with you.
This one,
yeah, go ahead.
Both teams are sitting about even. The Raiders are 7-8, and the Colts are 8-7.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the difference. The Raiders just beat the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, not the yeah, they beat the Chargers 63-21.
Yeah.
Then they turn around and beat the Chiefs 20-14.
If they beat the Colts, that technically puts the Colts at 8-8, and that puts the Raiders at 8-8. So the Raiders would pretty much, the Raiders could sneak in and get a wild card spot, possibly, depending on what the Bengals and Steelers do.
That is correct. Now,
Or the Texans.
Now the Colts just lost to the Falcons.
Yep.
So, and it wasn't just lost. They lost 29-10.
Yeah.
This is one of those iffy games for me. I think the Colts are the better team overall, but if the Raiders that have shown up the last 2 weeks show up, which is highly probable, the Raiders win this game.
Right. Where are you going? You going Indianapolis or you going Vegas?
I'm gonna go Colts.
Okay.
That's where my head is telling me Colts.
Okay.
My heart wants the Raiders to win to knock the Colts out of that wild card position and
right,
bumps the Texans up. So,
yeah. I got to be honest, man. For me, and it's been like this in football for many, many years. You have to know when to win and when to get hot. Normally, that hot streak normally starts around week 13 or 14. But there have been later streaks that have started, teams that might be on that mid-tier that get a couple of good wins and then end up getting a wild card spot. And normally, I mean, I've seen wild card teams go from like the 6th seed to the Super Bowl and win it. It's happened several times because they got hot and got the momentum at the right moments.
Right.
Oakland Oakland. Why? It's going to take me years to stop calling them the Oakland Raiders. That's what I've called them for years. But it's going to take a while. It took a while for this to happen. So I think the Raiders could possibly make a run, provided certain things happen and they keep winning. But
do they beat the Colts?
I think they do. I think they beat the Colts. I really do.
I really. Here's the thing. My heart
says Raiders, but your head
right.
says okay.
My heart wants you to be right.
Right.
Chad is also going Colts here.
Okay. All right. Am I the odd man out on every single one we've agreed on?
Yes.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. All right. So there's Colts and the Raiders. Let's see what's next.
Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars.
My heart can't. I can't go there, dude. I can't go. I can't do it. I cannot put myself in that situation.
Hold on. The Jaguars are a 6.5 point favorite with the over under only 37.5.
Golly,
I'm going Jaguars here.
Yeah.
In hopes that whatever magic that the Panthers found to beat the Falcons and the Texans, they find that and beat the Jaguars. I just don't think it's going to happen. I got Jags here.
Interesting thing going on. If you look at the NFL playoff picture on NFL.com, it also gives you some interesting statistics. It's playoff probability statistics. So if we look at the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, currently they have a 68% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose to the Carolina Panthers, that drops down to 40%. But if they beat the Carolina Panthers, it bumps up to 82% chance of them making the playoffs. Okay. But also, like I said before, it depends on what other teams do and blah, 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 blah. I got the Jaguars winning this game. I don't see them losing to the Carolina Panthers. Although it does make next week very, very interesting because if I'm not mistaken, the Texans have the Colts week 18, or do you guys have the
No, we have the Colts. No,
you have the Colts. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've already played the Jaguars twice. We beat them once. They beat us once.
Okay. And you beat the Colts earlier in the year. Did they beat you?
They beat us.
Okay. So this could be a revenge game for you next week. But
yes,
All right. But yeah,
All
I
right.
completely forgot
So,
what I was going to say. I was going
yep,
to say Jaguars. Yeah. Okay. So that's
yep.
Jags across the board.
Jags across the board.
Cool.
Oh, excuse me. Next up, we got the LA Rams versus the New York Giants, where the Rams are a 4.5 point favorite, with the over under being 43.5. I'm gonna go Rams.
Rams, the Giants. I mean, unless they're playing with reckless abandon to try to play spoiler to teams, but the Rams are just good right now, man. They're again one of those teams that are getting hot at the right moment, who could possibly make a deep playoff run, provided that the team stays healthy, and it also depends on matchup too, who you matching up with in them first couple of rounds. But yeah, I got the Rams winning this one as well.
It's Rams across the board.
Right.
Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this might surprise you. The Eagles are only a 10.5 point favorite.
Yeah, only 10.5.
Well, considering that the Bills over the Patriots was a 12 point.
Yeah, that's true.
So
I got the Eagles.
It's Eagles across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An Eagle's a bigger bird than a Cardinal, so why not? I mean, oh wait, we're not doing this scientifically. We're doing this football wise. Yeah, it's still the Eagles.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we got the Saints versus the Bucks, where Tampa Bay is a 3 point favorite, with the over under being 41.5. I'm going Bucks here. I think they have a better chance.
The Bucks have momentum, and I've seen the way they play. Dude, Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans have this connection, dude, that is really starting to flourish, especially later in the season. I don't see the Bucks losing right now, and the Saints have not been good either. Now, could the Saints pull off an upset? I say upset. I mean, they're kind of both. It's 8-7 and 7-8. Do I think that the Saints could pull off a victory? Sure, they could. But I just think right now the Bucks have that momentum, and I kind of want to see the Bucks and Baker Mayfield make it to the postseason. I honestly do. But too. So I'm gonna go with the Bucks in that regard.
All right, that's Bucks across the board. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Washington Commanders, where San Francisco is a 13-point favorite.
Wow.
With the over-under 49.5. Clearly, I'm going to go with the 49ers here. I just don't think that the Commanders have what it takes to beat the 49ers.
I don't either. I also got the 49ers. Chase Young going back to Washington, where he played since his whole career until he got traded to San Francisco this year, in fact.
Yeah.
So him going back to Washington will definitely see how he plays. Will he be more motivated to, play against his former team? We shall see. But yeah, San Francisco across the board on this one, right?
That is correct.
All right.
Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Seattle Seahawks, where Seattle is a 3.5-point favorite, with the over-under being 41.5. I'm going to go Steelers here. I just think that I don't know. There's something about the Steelers that intrigues me. Okay. And I think that they're going to win this
one. I was back and forth with this one a lot, but I do think that it's going to be the Seahawks to win this one. I feel like Geno Smith, is more proven than Mason Rudolph is. If Mason Rudolph is going to be the starter for this game, as long as he ain't, swinging helmets back at people. I know that was Myles Garrett. It's a different story. But I do think that the Seahawks definitely. I like the Seahawks run game more than I like the Steelers run game. Steelers have the edge on defense. I think Seahawks could be better on defense, provided they don't leave so many people. Because I feel like their secondary. I mean, they've came a long way from what they were, but they're not like Legion of Boom level anymore. You know what I mean? They're not them guys anymore. Although. Again, this was one of those games that I was kind of up in the air about, but I eventually ended up flipping a coin, and I'm picking Seattle to win this one. And it being in Seattle, I think it kind of helps benefit, especially this time of year when there could possibly be some rainy conditions, especially because it always rains in Seattle because they don't get snow, they get rain. I don't know if it's a West Coast thing. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle.
All right. Chad's going to go Steelers here. Uh,
I don't get it. All right, go ahead.
out again.
Odd man out again. That's fine. It's fine.
Next up on the docket, we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite with the over-under being 44.5. This one is a toss-up to me, in my opinion. I mean, I know that the Bengals are going to be without Burrow. We know that. But Jake Browning has stepped in and taken over that team as if it was his own.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Yeah. So I'm going to go Chiefs here, but I'm not very confident in that pick.
I'm also going to go Chiefs, and I hope I'm wrong. And there's a reason I hope I'm wrong. And it's not because I have any hatred toward the Kansas City Chiefs. It's not like I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I don't think he's a good quarterback. I think he's great. I think Travis Kelce's one of the greatest tight ends of all time. I think Andy Reid's one of the best coaches that ever coached the game. And their defense is good. Oh, no, I agree. Fuck the Chiefs. But I'm just tired of it, dude. Let's get some new blood in there. You know what I mean? I also think, in all honesty, though, their defense is really good. They rank in the top 10 in a lot of the defensive categories, top 5 in some cases. I do think their defense has gotten better. Their defense, in my opinion, they do a good job at stopping offenses. The problem is the Kansas City Chiefs offense, led by that Patrick Mahomes and that Travis Kelce, they don't, like we said, we talked about it all year long with the drop passes and the receivers not being open, and there's been so many different things going on. They have to rely on rushing plays, trick plays, sweep plays, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, if you got to go down the field, like a long bomb down the field to get some extra room to go for that home run, there's nobody on your team other than maybe Rashid Rice, and that's if he can get if he could break into coverage. But but for this game in particular, I hope I'm wrong. I got Kansas City winning, but man, it would be so sweet if the because here's the thing. The Kansas City Chiefs technically would still make, if they lose this game, there's still an 86% chance that they make the playoffs because they're number 1 in the AFC West, and the next closest team to them in the AFC West is the Las Vegas Raiders. And right now they only have a 12% chance. If they lose against the Steelers, they're mathematically eliminated. So the Raiders need this win. The Bengals, if they win, jump up to 58% chances of winning, of getting into the playoffs, and would usurp teams like the Texans and the Colts, and possibly the Bills, depending on if the Bills lose against the Patriots this week. So again, more playoff scenarios. Keeping on,
Yeah. Well, and I think that the Raiders could win their last 2 games. They've got the Colts this week and the Broncos next week, which would put them at 9-8.
They would put them at 9-8. But in order for them to win the division, if they win the division, because you got to understand that because they split with the Chiefs, so they would have to go by. I think they would go by in division record or conference record. I want to say it's conference record.
I think so.
Because if the Chiefs lose their next 2 games, which I don't see happening, but if they do lose their next game, they're 9-8 along with the Raiders. So what do we do here in this situation? Which I still think they would lean toward the Chiefs in that scenario, but I feel like at 9-8, the Raiders could still make a playoff spot, depending on what else happens.
See, I think the Chiefs could possibly lose this week to the Bengals. That's a possible. Next week, however, they got the Chargers, and I don't see them losing that.
I don't see them losing the Chargers either. I'm going to go to the Chiefs to win this one. I do think it's going to be a close, tight game, though.
Yeah, that's Chiefs across the board.
Of course.
Next up, we got the Chargers versus the Broncos, where the Broncos are a 3-point favorite with the over-under being 37.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Broncos here. I just don't think that the Chargers, I mean, they're playing terribly. Their record shows that they're playing terribly.
Mm-hmm. Both teams don't have good defenses.
No.
I could see this game being a high-scoring game. However, you got Easton Stick, who is still the quarterback for the Chargers because Justin Herbert's injured. And they're starting Jason Stidham for the Broncos over the next 2 games. And Jared Stidham, I said Jason Stidham, I meant Jared Stidham. Jared Stidham, every time I've seen this guy play, especially over the last several games he's played pretty good. So I'm going to risk it and pick the Broncos, even though I think either team could possibly win this game. Although I will say if the Chargers do beat the Broncos pretty much are done in terms of their postseason hopes, because if they win, right now they're at a 7%. If they win, they got a 12% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose, they're mathematically eliminated. So Broncos better win this game if they even want a shot to make it into the postseason.
Correct.
But that being said, I have the Broncos beating the Chargers.
Yes. All right, and for our final game of the week, this is the Sunday Nighter because we do not have any Monday night games, and I think that's because the college football playoff games are happening on the 1st.
Yes,
I think that's why they did not schedule any Monday Nighters. They didn't want to put any NFL games against those college games that are going to take precedent over what more than likely would be a bullshit Monday Nighter anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings, where Minnesota is only a 2-point favorite with the over-under being 46.5. I'm going to go with Green Bay here. I just think that they're I don't know. The better team. I have more faith in Jordan Love than I do Josh Dobbs. I mean, Josh Dobbs has been playing really well, but I don't know. I think that the Packers are a better overall team, so I'm going to go with the Packers here.
I'm also going to go with the Packers. Interesting enough that these two teams are playing against each other because they're both ranked 8th and 9th in the current seeding. If the Vikings win, then their percentage of making the playoffs goes to 51%. If the Packers win, then their playoff percentage goes to 56%. If the Vikings lose, they got a 5% chance to make it. If the Packers lose, that gives them a 1% chance. It's still a chance. It's a 1% chance. You're telling me there's a chance. But I do got the Packers winning. Right now, they're at the 9th spot, the 9th seed. If they were to win, it could jump them up to possibly the 8th seed, maybe even the 7th seed, depending on what happens between Seattle or the Rams. But we'll see what happens there. But I got the Packers overall winning this one.
Yes. All right. What are your games of the week?
My games of the week, let me go back through and look. I think Detroit, Dallas is going to be good. Obviously, Miami, Baltimore. It's really going to shape things up. Tennessee, Houston, I think will be a pretty good one. Low key, I'm kind of wanting to see the Raiders Colts game. I think that could be pretty good. Saints, Buccaneers, I think could be a low key banger. Bengals, Chiefs. Those are my five. Those are my 5 right there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Lions, Cowboys, Titans, Texans, Dolphins, Ravens, Saints, Bucks, Bengals, Chiefs, and then kind of an outlier is the Sunday Nighter Packers, Vikings.
Yeah, that's going to be a pretty good one because both teams, again, like what we said before, both teams are still trying to find their placing. But again, this is the week. You're going to see this a lot. This week is going to determine how many teams are going to be still in the hunt and how many teams are going to get eliminated. If I had to throw a number out there, I'm going to say that there's going to be at least 3 to 4 teams that's going to be mathematically eliminated once this week is over.
I think so.
And then we'll determine, because there's a lot of people talking about seeding, and this is that time of the year where you get a little bit excited because you want to see, okay, who's going to win this? What's it going to look like? Because every year, yeah, you have the teams there that are like the upper echelon teams, but you kind of want to see who those wild card teams are. because those wild card teams are the teams where you could like nobody saw Jacksonville making it to the division championship. If they would have beaten the Chiefs last year, holy shit, that would have been an incredible story. Doug Peterson gets fired from Philadelphia, ends up going to Jacksonville, and then turns that franchise around. You know what I mean? So that's a good indicator of what could happen. Like I said, there's been several teams that have, gotten to the point to where okay, we can make a run. I think obviously Miami's, up there, they're going to be a playoff team regardless of where the seating is. They're going to be a playoff team regardless. We're in no matter what. The Ravens are in no matter what. At this point, I can venture a guess to say that if the Cleveland Browns win, they're in no matter what, because there's a 99% chance they make it. Even if they do lose to the Jets, it doesn't really affect their standings because they're still a double-digit win team. So they would be in that, either 5 or 6, because obviously they can't be number 1 because that's reserved for Baltimore because they're in the same division, blah, blah, blah. It'd be similar. It's similar to, in the NFC to the Dallas-Philadelphia thing. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So, but that being said, I think week 17 is going to be a banger of a week. Hopefully we'll get some good results. I'm the odd man out on this one. I hope all my picks are right, which rarely happens in that case. I don't think I don't think anyone's ever went undefeated in a week. I don't think. We've gotten a couple of close calls.
Yeah.
I think my best record for a week was 13-3 or something like that. I think that was my best record. I think last year or the year before, you went 14-2, I think, on a week. I can't remember which week it was. Yeah, because it was a week that you were the only 2 games you got wrong, if I'm not mistaken. You got the Baltimore Cleveland game wrong because you thought Baltimore was just going to kill them, and then that's when the Cleveland had that big 40-25 victory against them. I remember that.
Right.
I remember certain things. That's my ADHD. It happens.
Let's see.
I can't remember what it was back then. Okay. Oh, somebody sends a TikTok. Cool. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Chip's going to look that up real quick for us. Yeah.
Looks like your best week so far has been this year.
Yeah.
Has been 13-3.
Yep.
Let's double check. Yeah, that's a 13-3 as well.
Was it week 6 or week? I know it wasn't week 7. I don't think anybody had a good week 7.
Let's see, what was this one? Week 15, you went 13-3.
Okay.
And week let's see. 6, 7. Week 4, you went 13-3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 13-3 weeks.
Yes.
So I'm doing better. In this little game we have going on. My phone just died. Oh well, whatever. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight to Are You Ready for Some Football? What's some of your predictions? What team are you rocking with? Let us know down in the comments down below. And thank you for all the love and support you guys have been giving us over these last few years. We appreciate it so much. And we thank everybody who's been down with us since day one. You guys know who you are, and we appreciate you so much. Chip, anything you want to say before we bounce out?
As always, please do not leave without leaving a like, comment, share, and subscribe on Spotify and right here on YouTube.
Make sure you guys go check us out on all of our social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you go follow us on all of our social media platforms. Also, check out Movement Radio. Streamlabs.com/Movement Radio /merch. We got more. We got some cool ideas coming up for merch coming up real soon. 2024, we're praying for a really good year. We thank you guys so much for all the love and support you guys have given us here in the year 2023, all the opportunities. Thank you to everybody who's been, and we're so grateful. I don't know what Chip's opinion is about this, but we just been so grateful for the opportunities. Just to go to different conventions and stuff. Thank you to Rocky Spurlock at Farley Con for helping us out and giving us our opportunity back in 2022 when really no one really knew who we were. So we definitely give Rocky his flowers for that. Rick and Liz from C3, you guys have always been great to us, especially this year, with everything you had. Also, Jeremy from Huntsville Comic and Pop Culture Expo, thank you for having us out there. It was really, really fun. All the great people at Con Nuga and all the great people from at Metropolitan Con, we appreciate you guys. And thank you so much, Chip. Anything you want to say about 2023 this year?
2023 has been a phenomenal year for us here at Movement Radio. Thank you all for all the love and support that you have shown and given us throughout the year. And let's just go forward and make 2024 our best year yet.
Absolutely. And again, like what we said before, we can't do this without you guys. And we appreciate the love and support, you guys. If you guys see us at a convention, because we are going to be hopefully going to more conventions here in 2024. We've already been locked down for FarleyCon and for C3. We have other cons that we're talking to at this point. Hopefully, trying to get onto those. We have more. We're going to have more long form content coming in the future. We're going to bring some lists back to the podcast. We're also going to hopefully try to get back to doing rock retrospectives. Hopefully, get back to doing a couple of other things. But we do appreciate you guys so much for all the love and support you guys have been giving us. Stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out, merch ideas, videos, content, maybe some sketches, who knows. But we'll definitely get you guys. We're looking forward to 2024, and we thank you guys so much. Until next time, I'm Talon Williams.
I'm Chip Hazard, and this is Movement Radio.
God's plan.